Joining us now is OjyOkpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, G.
Good morning. How are you this morning, Dr. Abati? Good morning, Ayo. How are you this morning? Looking excellent. Rufai, you are the fire. You own the studio.
Oji, you are the pepper dem.
No, you are the fire.
Pepper dem.
We shall always arise and shine. Well, all right. Good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending. Traders at a market in Aninri local government area of Enugu State on Wednesday burst into wild celebrations upon receiving the news of the release of Beatrice Ekweremadu, wife of a former Deputy Senate President, Ekweremadu, who was sentenced to jail for 4 years and 6 months in the United Kingdom in March 2023 for organ harvesting. Her husband, Ekweremadu, was also found guilty of the same offense and was sentenced to 9 years and 8 months in prison. Beatrice Ekweremadu was reported to have joined her family sometime this week after serving her jail term. The traders in Enugu State, where Beatrice hails from, were seen in this video singing and dancing in celebration of her return. Let's take a look.
This is OjyOkpe market. The women of Rufai are rejoicing that they had the good news that the wife of the single Professor Ekweremadu has been released. So we are jubilated in their numbers. OjyOkpe market. So can we see that the people of Rufai are very, very happy. Having had the good news that the single Professor Ekweremadu wife has been released. As you can see, everywhere is very, very hot.
All right. I mean, this news broke yesterday. I mean, we're hearing sources that, no British media has reported it as of yet, but we are reliably confirmed that she has returned to Nigeria. I mean, you can understand why the traders in Enugu State are so excited because of her philanthropic efforts. I believe she and her husband has empowered a lot of Nigerians, not just in Enugu State, sent people to school. But the crux of the matter really is the reason as to why she was sent to jail with her husband. We know the story, the background of the story. Ekweremadu had actually written a letter, when to the British consul to actually detail what, his accuser was, going to do in London, and which is for the kidney transplant for his daughter. And, this whole incident occurred because I believe that there was some sort of witch hunt at one point with Ekweremadu and the EFCC. If you recall, back when the trial went on, there was a time when he wasn't granted bail because there was no cooperation by the EFCC here in Nigeria, which is quite a sad situation because, like we've been talking about Donald Trump and, making America great again and putting, our citizens first. Why do we see this sort of thing happen in Nigeria? I know that at the time, the Senate had organized a group of people to go on behalf of, the Nigerian government or whatnot to try to appeal to the UK government. But, I'm glad to see that this matter with Beatrice has been, resolved. We don't know as to the reason why she did not serve her full jail term. Ayo.
All right, so it's a reason we can speculate as a result of the fact that, yes, because she was sentenced. They were sentenced in June 2022. And when this news came out, it was very big story. It was controversial as well. People for and against, people looking at the merit of the case, organ trafficking, the plight of a mother who wanted to save her child, whether or not the boy who was taken was informed or not. But that's besides the point. The UK courts found them guilty and they were sentenced to 3 years, at least for her, 3 years in prison. Now, that would have... 3 years now that she's been released is not up to the time. I think it would be summer later on this year that would have made her full sentence. But recall that since this Labour government came into power, they have talked about overcrowding in prisons. And they have said it's been an issue that has been highlighted in the UK for a while, and that those with non-violent crimes, they will be reviewed and perhaps their sentences reduced, especially also if they had good behavior in Her Majesty's prison. This is what we can speculate happened, that while she was there, she was of good behavior. Also, as a result of evaluating her case to see was non-violent and just seeing that, okay, they could let her go early rather than serving the full term, and that could be perhaps a reason for that. But like you said, the good news is that she's back home now. It's great to know that her daughter is still alive, and hopefully they're still pursuing an opportunity for her to have that kidney transplant.
All right. Dr.
Okay,
Hansen.
a number of issues here. Let's dimension them properly. The matter is about organ harvesting. The case was about organ harvesting, and the court in England found Senator Ekweremadu guilty, sentenced him to 10 years, found his wife guilty, sentenced him to 6 years, and then there was also a Dr. Obinna Obeta, who was said to have been involved in the matter. He was also convicted. That's number one. Number two is the point raised about, prison time. The fact that Mrs. Ekweremadu has now been released. Now, within their jurisdiction there, they have some other protocols. Maybe for good behavior, maybe a new government is in place, maybe the prisons are over-congested, and all of that, and they will say, well, we'll reduce sentences. One of the things that the Labour government has been trying to do. Yeah. The other point to note is that prison calendar is calculated differently. So what is 5 years, 6 years in normal calendar is different from how it is calculated. So it's important to also look at all of those areas. Number three, the point that Ojyokpe raised is about the behavior of the Nigerian government.
Yes.
Now, there are persons who are convinced and who believe that the Nigerian government was not fair to the Ekweremadus. Yeah. There were persons, yes, as you said, from the Senate, who went to, show solidarity with their former deputy Senate president. But we recall that it was at that time that the EFCC, under Abdulrasheed Bawa, then decided to bring up this 2006 Act about assets forfeiture, and they brought it up and they were saying, Ekweremadu should forfeit some assets. And I think Justice Justice Enyang Ekwa was the one who spoke up at that time and said that, look, even that process was questionable. So you found a former deputy Senate president having an issue abroad, and then his own country bringing up another matter to sabotage him. However, the law is the law. The basic lesson from this is that Nigerians should realize that what is permissible in Nigeria is not permissible in another place. If you go foul of the organ harvesting law of the United Kingdom and you are involved in it, then of course you will answer for it.
Right.
That is another lesson. But there are also some other gray areas. What's the boy's name? David. Yes. Mwamini, I think that's the name. Mwamini.
I can't pronounce that.
Something like that. The guy first said he was 15 years old.
Yes.
It was later discovered that he was over 22 years. It was also discovered that he had claimed falsely that his parents died. Yeah. But the way the case went, all of that did not help the Ekweremadus and the Dr. Obeta in the court in England. But it's just for us, basic lesson, to know that, look, how they do in your village is not how they do in Rome. But we are happy that she's back and all of that. Now, another leg of it is that there's a human side to it. The conviction in England is not saying Senator Ekweremadu, stole money, not that he committed a crime involving some heinous thing. This was a man and a woman who wanted to help their own daughter.
Yes.
A lady named Sophia. Who had kidney issues. Sonia. And if you look at it from a parental background, it looks like the kind of mistake that any parent could have made. But you see, again, the law is the law. So, Mrs. Ekweremadu is back. The senator has 10 years. Apparently, he will complete his own term. Dr. Obeta will complete his own term. But in Nigeria, I don't think anybody should have any anxiety. We have been in this country where even people who stole money, not people trying to play their role as parents, getting on the wrong side of the law abroad, had returned to become political godfathers.
Yes.
So this may be there may well be a second chance for Senator Ekweremadu. Don't be surprised when it is his turn to return, that some people will push that he should be president of this country, and he will return into the political space. Right. But don't let me be hyperbolic about this issue. But the human angle part is something that should touch all of us as human beings. Right. You want to help your child, you get into trouble with the law in another land.
Right.
There will be many lessons that all of us can learn from this example.
All right. We'll take another story now. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, has responded to a report by the Daily Trust newspaper claiming that the federal government has reawarded the revoked section of the Abuja-Kaduna highway to the tune of 250 billion naira to an inactive and obscure company called InfoQuest. Umahi clarified the reports during a press conference held on Wednesday, stating that the contract was awarded to InfoQuest, not InfoQuest, as reported, and demanded a public apology from the Daily Trust to be published in at least 5 national dailies. Let's take a look.
What Daily Trust was talking about was InfoQuest. Somebody went and registered a company called InfoQuest. The company that we recommended for the job is InfoQuest. But it is O and Q. So everything is international limited. So the InfoQuest is what the Daily Trust is talking about. We didn't give our job to InfoQuest. The Daily Trust owes Minister of Works very deep apology because we didn't give job to the company they say we gave job. It amounts to demarketing the company. It amounts to inciting the public against the Minister of Works. It amounts to create doubt in the mind of our boss, Mr. President. So they owe us that serious public apology in at least 5 newspapers.
All right, Rufai on fire. I mean, they always say that, we journalists are the 4th realm of the estate, and we have to, verify our sources and be sure before we report. I mean, he has asked for a public apology from the Daily Trust newspaper. But you did see this story. It was trending everywhere. And we've been hearing reports whether or not the actual company that he has just announced is an active company or a company that can, be responsible for such an award.
So let's ask a couple of questions. Mm-hmm. Number one, if an award is given to a company like that, what was the initial pedigree of the company? Mm. What's the account balance of that company? Mm-hmm. He might say there's been a mix-up in the names, but what's the pedigree of that company? Because we've seen companies being given multi-billion contracts in the last administration where they don't even have the capacity to handle that.
IR is doing the Lord's work right now,
so
checking
let's
CAC
also check that. So what's the capacity of this company? Yes. How long has it been around? Yes. And all of that.
Those are the questions.
Those are the questions we should be able to ask. Mm-hmm. Also, let's go one step further and even investigate what was the due process behind that contract. Was there an open bid? Because till date, Mr. Umahi has not answered the question why a certain company was given the contract for the coastal road. He said, hitherto, they knew that they had capacity. But the question is, did he follow due process like we always say? And you remember how we also asked for environmental assessment. They delayed for a while before they said, they had actually granted it. So there's been a lot of back and forth. So before he's so quick to say that, they should apologize, let us do more research and let investigators get on it. And in the case when we do more research and he says that Umahi is right, the paper should give him his apology. There's no big deal about that. Yeah. But before this, we must also, because you see, there's been a lot of back and forth as regards error. This same Mr. Umahi came out recently to say that Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway was put in the budget, but it was deemed as Lagos Port Harcourt Highway. Mm-hmm. And somebody looked for a very important project like that. Yeah. Because it was expert affairs reviewed, they said it was a typographical error. This same Mr. Umahi said that most of the roads will have been fixed by December. Most of the roads are still in deplorable conditions. Mm. But let us just all investigate. And why are we doing it? Because we want a great level of sanctity and sanity. Because in that Nigeria's federal budget, you see a lot of shenanigans going on. Yeah,
it's all about transparency. What did you find out,
if Mr. Umahi is proven right, definitely he deserves an apology.
Well said. What did you find out?
So in fairness to him, there is a company registered with a registered address in Abuja. However, it was registered in 2001, October of 2001. 2001, yes. However, for a company of that size, which would get that kind of budget, talking about track record. They don't have a website.
Okay.
They have a Facebook page with some pictures of some things being constructed. But for a company that's been around for 24 years, not a lot is on it, aside from this contract award that's been given to it.
Yeah. Well, the company, the contract was initially awarded to Julius
Berger for a contract of that magnitude.
And that was controversial because Julius Berger said they cancelled it.
Yeah, they cancelled it because of what? Is it inflation or the prices were going higher?
This is a straightforward matter.
Okay.
All these long stories, I don't think we need to waste time. There are two sides of the story. Daily Trust published front page doing investigative journalism to say the Ministry of Works gave contract to this particular party, a particular company that does not exist. They trace the address to some fake location. The minister comes forward and says, look, there has been a misrepresentation here. There has been an identity problem.
Right,
and it is not true. Now, the minister now says on the basis of that, he needs an apology in 5 newspapers and a retraction. Now, investigative journalism is the most brilliant thing that journalists can do. But journalists can also make mistakes. Now, if you look at the name, one is InfoWest, one is InfoWest, and the minister even said, in fact, there had been issues over that name registration and all of that. So it's now for us to hear from Daily Trust to say we stand by our story or we have an apology. We don't know all the details. So things like this happen. If a newspaper makes a mistake, it can retract. But if a newspaper says, no, we stand by our story, then that's the next leg of it.
We'll wait to hear from the Daily Trust then. We'll take another story now. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission is at the center of a fresh scandal after an officer in its Kaduna zonal office reportedly vanished with $30,000 and other valuables. The officer, only known as Polycrap, was said to have disappeared during an audit ordered by Zonal Director Benedict Ubi. Well, according to The Guardian, insiders at EFCC, who are anonymous, claim that Polycrap stepped out of the exhibit room citing an excuse, but he never returned. His phone lines were later found switched off. This incident comes on the heels of another internal crisis where 10 EFCC officers in Lagos were detained over missing items, including gold bars reportedly worth 1 billion naira and foreign currencies. Ayo, we saw this story. I mean, it was around January 8th where EFCC had reported that they were investigating 10 of his officers at this point. But the EFCC has not said anything about this gentleman called Polycrap. We're waiting to hear from them. But let's take a reaction following this story. This is from Sophia, who wrote, "It's disheartening to see corruption undermine trust, especially in institutions meant to uphold integrity. It raises questions about oversight and accountability. Let's hope this serves as a wake-up call for better systems in place." Actually, that's the right point. Better systems in place. What was happening at the time? I mean, there's an audit room. How is it possible that somebody can vanish?
There are no better systems.
Vanish. No systems in place. That's really what it is.
Fairness. Around the world, there are people who find a way to manipulate their ways around the system. We know about even big scandals have happened in international investment banks, people being able to find a way to sidestep the system. But one thing, the reason why this is a big deal is because we found that the system is quite porous. The EFCC chairman himself said that there were bad eggs within and corrupt officials within the EFCC. However, would you cancel an entire agency as a result of let me not say 1 or 2, hundreds, tens or hundreds of bad eggs? Absolutely not. I think what should happen, as was suggested in that last post, is strengthening the systems, understanding where the loopholes are, even if it has to mean bringing in consultants to come in to evaluate the system and procedures and processes within the EFCC. Because when we hear news like this, it erodes confidence in the ability or the strength of of such an institute, of such an agency. Right. And I think it looks really bad for them in terms of even the press for them, it's really bad. But the second next thing, finally, is to ensure that this officer who has absconded is apprehended and brought to book and made to refund that $30,000.
Rufai, you're a data specialist.
No, so me, I'm even shocked. At first, is it that EFCC is not even tracking the phone of people that are meant to go into very sensitive offices and materials like that to encounter? Secondly, there's a security background check on all these employers and scanning. So at a time like this, you can't just come and say, oh, the phone didn't go through. Your security background check should be able to know 5 or 6 people that will call that will be related to him. You should be up and running for questioning and all of that. Yeah, you should be able to infiltrate your own personal systems of your own officials to be able to get their correspondence and everything. I mean, we spend big, huge money on data software and things like that from the Israelis and the likes. I mean, you should be able to infiltrate your own people to be able to know this. So it shouldn't even be a problem. There are technologies on ground that even if his phone is off at a point in time, people will still be able to track him to the last part it was when the phone was on. Yeah. Right. So EFCC should get to work. I know, this is a sensational issue, but they should not make it sensational. Right. Data and information should solve all of this.
All right, we're waiting to hear from the EFCC.
Is that the EFCC under Olukoyede has been very firm in saying that he's not just investigating economic and financial crimes, he's also torchlighting his own officers.
His own officers, yes.
Before now, I think there were some 10 officers that were dismissed, arrested. This just shows the fact that this story is out there is that the EFCC itself under the gentleman that is there now is doing internal cleansing. Right. So the EFCC is not just watching you, it's also watching its own men. Yes. Men inherited by this latest chairman. And I think that, there's something to be said positively about that. That EFCC officials are not saints. Right. Coming from heaven to come and investigate other people.
Well, it happens everywhere in the world.
The investigator, the watchman is watching himself. Cui ipso custodis, as it is in Latin as a principle.
Well said,
Who will watch the watchman? Yeah. The watchman watching itself, I think it's a good development.
Yes, and, Ola Olukoyede must be commended for that, actually. Let's head over to your state now, Ogun State, where the state's governor, Dakwa Abiodun, on Wednesday celebrated Kayode Adewale, a mathematics teacher who was shortlisted among the top 50 finalists for the prestigious Global Teacher Prize. The governor appointed Adewale as the state's education ambassador and rewarded him with 5 million naira cash prize and a bungalow in his preferred location within the state. Let's take a look.
Today, we are going to be honoring you. The first honor we are going to bestow on you is to honor you as Ogun State Education Ambassador. That's the first honor. We're going to give you a bungalow in any part of Ogun State of your choice. We will support you with the cash prize from 5 million naira. I want to congratulate your parents.
I want to appreciate His Excellency Prince Dakwa Abiodun for making this a dream come true for me.
Dr. Martin, this is such a beautiful story. Yeah. I only wish, you have to say what you said behind the scene, but we must congratulate the Governor Dakwa Abiodun for this. Please go ahead, because it's your state as well. We must commend him. They always say the word of the teacher is in heaven, but it's right here. And the governor has proven that. Well done to the teacher. I believe that you guys said he teaches mathematics in Yoruba as well.
But that's amazing because many years ago, in fact, in some secondary schools that I know, I don't want to mention their name in DJ. If you need to hear teachers when they are teaching, they say, "Kamu 2-way, more 2-way, only 4-way." Shamshi simultaneous equation can't be Wow,
that is brilliant.
Idea is neat.
Is
what, as long as they can assimilate.
And one of my physics teacher that wanted to describe the fact that friction has hit the tire.
Right.
That the tire has lacked.
Rufai,
kudos to all those teachers.
Well, kudos to all the teachers.
A
quick word from you, a quick word from you, Dr.
So brilliant. Thank you so much, Governor
Yes.
Abiodun, for he's been shortlisted for $1 million.
Yes.
I think if he wins, that will be really life transforming. But this gesture in itself is life transforming.
Absolutely.
5 million naira, a bungalow. You can see the excitement and joy of his parents. You know, it's not just a joy to him, but a joy to the community he comes from. And I hope an inspiration to other teachers as well, because sometimes the way they are treated is demoralizing, and many of them just go with it, just let them do the bare minimum. But he's gone over and beyond the call of duty. He's been rewarded publicly for this, and this is just a message to teachers out there. Despite the years of neglect, I hope that your son is coming, your time in the sun is coming, and you will also be rewarded.
Fantastic, Dr.
Okay, a number of quick points. So Ogun State is described as the gateway to Nigeria because we are a border state, bordering Republic of Benin. So if you are coming from that position, you come
Don't
through
worry, he's qualifying
Ogun
it.
State.
Stop laughing.
But it's not just the gateway physically, geographically. Ogun State is also, the gateway to Nigeria politically. The state that has produced some of the most prominent leaders in this country, and leaders also in education, in every field, whether it's politics or anything.
Correct.
So Mr. Adewale falls into that range and reaffirms the importance of Ogun State as a state of talented, prominent frontliners. Number two is that I think it's in order that Governor Abiodun has even gone ahead of the World Teachers Award to recognize this superstar that has emerged in Ogun State. Adewale is not just emerging now, he was the Ogun State Best Teacher Award winner in the year 2020, confirming that in fact he's truly a man of talent.
Yes,
now,
absolutely.
if you look at him in terms of his personal profile, he got an NCE certificate, he went to do a degree, he did a master's, he's now a PhD student, and he's still, achieving more because he says he's committed to education. And I think that people like that, the people we call titans at Rice News, icons, I think it's good that a man like that is celebrated finally. They always say that a teacher's reward is in heaven.
He's in heaven.
But we are beginning to see that with this kind of award, a teacher's reward can be on earth also. And this should be a source of inspiration for all teachers to be dedicated, to be devoted, to rise and shine, to borrow your phrase.
Rise and shine.
And congratulations to Adewale. Whether he wins the World Teachers Award or not, the recognition from his home state is important. He has been asked to choose a bungalow in a place of his choice. I recommend to him that he should choose a bungalow in the state capital of Abeokuta, which is the leading city in Ogun State.
Yes. I don't know where you're from, Dr. Badi.
That's where I've been in.
Preferably Ibara GRA.
I lived in Ibara GRA. Yes, absolutely. I will recommend Ibara GRA. And Dr. Abati, you will say nothing. Well, all right.
Oh, you know what I was going to say?
Well, kudos.
I'll spare you today.
As always. Well, okay, today, Ogun State, they carry last. Only for today. Well, all right. Kudos to Teacher Adewale and the Governor of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun. Well, in Kano State, Governor Abba Yusuf on Tuesday inaugurated the second phase of what he called the livestock fattening program to combat poverty. During the flag-off ceremony, the governor announced that 7,158 goats will be distributed to 2,386 women in the current phase of the initiative, with each beneficiary receiving 3 goats. The program also plans to distribute 1,342 cows and 1,822 rams to women and young people in subsequent phases. Ayo, I know you wanted to touch on this story, so I give the floor to you.
I want to come out my face. In 2024, we're giving goats for empowerment program from the governor.
From the governor. I mean, why is it that you don't align with this initiative?
What can a woman do with a goat?
Sell them.
Or 3 goats.
3 goats. Well, they can rear them.
No, but it is more than that. And I'm saying this because This is 2024, and we're talking about even moving farming forward and talking about training and education for our farmers so that they can emerge mechanized farming and use technology in farming. I know you cannot begin to talk about technology yet in Kano, but personally, I think for a state government in terms of empowerment, as nice as it seems, it is very low level in terms of empowerment. I saw the pictures of the women carrying their goats, and in fact, they warn them that please make sure it's used for business, that they don't eat the goats, rather than and use it to replicate. I think on that level, what we should be talking about, especially for women in Kano State, is education. Let's push that. If we're going to set up businesses, let it be done properly. Let it be sustainable. Having a goat is not enough to begin to empower people in 2024. That's my take on it. 2025, okay. Sorry.
Okay. Rufai, it's your specialty, right?
My bona fide here is I have a degree in animal physiology.
In animal physiology, yeah.
The truth is, yes, you might say it's low level, but you see, I think we need to rethink the way we see Nigeria. See, you can be at a certain level in life. Other people are not at that level. At their level, something can help them. If they are giving them 3 goats and there's 1 male, 1 female, probably mating happens. In animal husbandry can produce many other goats. Most of the top ranches you see today, they didn't start with 20, 40 cows. They started as smaller units where they can mate, and they can improve upon them. What I will have just suggested is the fact that also, apart from giving people these goats, document it properly, ensure that there are extension workers to oversee the progress of this ecosystem, and see how they build over time. Also, we must also remember that there's a cultural outlook to things.
All right.
Down in the south here, we might not be, very heavy on animal husbandry. But in other parts of the country, they might be heavy on animal husbandry.
All right.
Ask, how much do they sell those goats today? Right. When they start to breed, do you know how much income that can bring, how many kids that can produce? Right. To a large extent. So when I look at it, maybe because of my background in agriculture, I see things anew.
There are two sides to the story. There are two sides to the story. But the story was trending, and Governor Abba Yusuf feels like this is the right way to empower women and young people in his state. We'll take our next story under entertainment. The Recording Academy announced on Tuesday that South African comedian Trevor Noah will be returning as the host of the 2025 Grammy Awards, despite speculations that the award ceremony will be postponed due to the devastating LA wildfires. Event organizers said the show will go on as planned and that the ceremony will also serve as a fundraiser to aid relief efforts for those affected by the wildfires. This year's nominees for the Best African Music Performance category include Yemi Alade, Ashake, Wizkid, Davido, Lil J, Burna Boy, and Thames. The 67th edition of the annual award ceremony will be held on February 2nd at the Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles. And you can bet, guys, that Arise News will be there to cover the whole ceremony. Pepe them. Pepe them. But it's award season. It started with the Golden Globes. And guess what, guys? Yes, I was in LA, and I did really escaped the wildfires. It was literally an hour after that incident occurred that I left LA to cover the Golden Globes. But it's refreshing to see that despite this whole incident, the award ceremony is going to go on. And I love the fact that the event organizers are going to donate to the people that have lost, lives, properties, and, show some succor to those people that really have been affected by the wildfire. I can't wait to see Trevor Noah. This is his 5th consecutive time that he would be organizing the awards ceremony. Well, all right. Well, before we end what's trending today, let us highlight again Dr. Ezekiel Olajungu, a linguistics teacher at the Obafemi Awolowo University who was forced to cancel class after his students swarmed him with gifts in appreciation of his good nature in our Good News report.
class again today.
This was about the most moving story for me. I mean, like we said, the reward for teachers right here on earth. And I love the fact that the students appreciated the teacher that way. I know Dr. Olagunju is a deeper life pastor who speaks about 10 international languages, including German. He began trending after the video surfaced online showing his students showering him with those gifts. Really amazing. A quick word, because you sent me that story.
Yeah, the stories we like to see. He's also a director at the multi-language place.
Yes.
And they testify to his character, his help, his willingness to assist students in a state or in a place where some lecturers take pride in failing their students or being like God far away from their students. To see a man like this, so for me, it was the little gifts they brought. They just wanted to show him how much they really loved and appreciated him. So thank you so much, Dr. Ezekiel Olagunju. This is your moment. Congratulations.
Really his moment. All right, amazing. I'd love to thank you all for your great analysis, as always, on What's Trending. Okay. Congratulations to all the teachers. Well, that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.